How's it going there, guys? Brandon from Team Asian here to give you guys a deck profile on my Pale Moon Harri deck. Definitely probably one of my favorite builds at Vanguard of all time, aside from Battle Sisters and just about anything else in Bermuda aside from Pacifica. But oh my lord, this deck has stuck with me since its release, and I've never looked down upon it. I mean, it's just so great. The toolbox engine for Pale Moon is so fun and intricate. It also does some good against the current meta with all the control that's going around with chaos and whatnot. So I figured no better time to bring out the old deck, because I haven't played this thing in a very long time, than right now, and just give it a few more tests and see how things work. Unfortunately, I got rid of my pokers, so I'm no longer able to have them in my soul and use them against Universe and Delusion, Crisis, and all that. So I'm going to have to pick up some more, despite the fact they're like 2 apiece right now. But I mean, despite some things going along the way from here, later on the line, I hope that Bushiroad is able to make some more support for Pale Moon that will also help, not counterlock specifically, but well, a lot of the new units these days are getting skills that will target circles instead of cards. So that'll be interesting, although I don't think that'll really work for Pale Moon all that well, since we work from the soul and we're not that field reliant. So yeah, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. Oops. First grade 3 is for Masked Phantom Harri. I'm still in the process of RLRing this single set, but having 2 of these and 2 of the SP is still very, very nice, since I got the SP pack, and just about every box that I got had SPs, and thankfully I have some wonderful friends who were able to support me with the RLRs, so that's just amazing. The card itself is not that bad. In fact, it's actually quite mediocre compared to the original Grade 3 Harri from the trial deck, and with its reprint from this set. Basically, it's a watered-down version at best with its on-stride skill. Instead of a counterblast, it's a soul blast, and you can't call out any card from the soul. It's not that generic anymore. You have to call out a unit with the Magi ability, so there are some slight limitations. And of course, we do play cards without the Magi ability, so it is a little bit of a downfall. And it doesn't give power to the called unit, nor any type of skill. I guess the only good thing about it is the fact that it is a bit of a toolbox card itself, with the fact that its GB2 is able to get you a grade 3 back to your hand. So you can stride the next turn, or maybe you can ride if you're going up against Mega Colony Machining, I'm not too sure. And then of course, there's its infamous on-ride skill, which I'm not very fond of. It helps when you're lucky and you don't brick it out, but it does come into play once in a while. That, or I just have to take my chances with it. But yeah, just playing 4 simply because it's just a toolbox card. Plus, if you're ever needing to see anything, it's primarily going to be your grade 3s or anything for stride fodder, because with all the soul charging you do, despite most of it being selective since you are playing Pale Moon, you're not very mindless like Dark Irregulars. There are times when you just really need to stride the next turn, so knowing that you always have a single card in the deck that will always be able to grant you that wish is good enough for me. So yeah, playing 4 of those. Next up, playing 2 of the original Harri. I want to get an SP version of this art, but I can't get around to it just yet, so I'm fine with this beautiful double rare foiling, as always. OG Harri, we all pretty much know what it does right now. I'm only playing 2 because I'm only playing 6 grade 3s in the deck. I'm trying to limitize how many grade 3s I play, because they're always primarily dead. They're not good on rearguard circle. They aren't very good in combat because of the power you gain across the board. Unless you're going to Mephisto, you'll gain 5k to the board as well, but then again he also stacks 1s to make your 9ks, 11ks and above. So it's a little counterintuitive, it's not really necessary. And because you play stride fodder, you'll always be able to search them out anyway. It's just the ones that will always be able to give you the cards you need will pretty much just be this Harri right here. Going on to the grade 2s. Play 4, Darkside Princess. Many people play it at 3, if anything. If not, maybe 2, because once you have it, you'll pretty much have it forever, unless it's been denied. But I like to keep it at 4, simply because of that, because Overlords are going to become a horrible threat, somewhat. I also like to be able to rush my opponent, since it is not a GB skill, thank God, but at the cost of putting into the soul, it's fine, it'll always be protected, unless we have some other horrible mechanic in the future that'll just tamper with your soul, which I doubt. But yeah, 4 Darkside Princess. Of course, you're playing your Flying Peryton. I'd always keep it at 3. I tried it at 4. It's when you see it too often, it doesn't necessarily help you all the time. It does come as a very clutch combo piece for the deck, and I mean, again, just like Darkside Princess, once you pretty much have at least one, you're pretty much set. You have two, you're good. Three, well, it was just to see it. Next up is my new favorable tech against the meta. I'm playing 3 10k vanillas, preferably this one. I like the Cerberus because of its OG factor, but this has always had a special place in my heart for its art, and it really does help. If you're going up against blasters, despite the fact that, I mean, I don't see blasters around anymore, I still see Grand Blue, and Grand Blue love to rush because, I mean, there's no real like setback when it comes down to them rushing and blowing out all their cards. They can use them to guard, intercept, whatever. You get rid of their board, they'll just be able to recover it just as fast at the very next turn. So playing 10k vanillas really helps to just slow down your opponent's plays. And Pale Moon itself does not do very well against heavy rush, so I feel like the 10k vanillas really add some better sorts of early game defense. Then I'm playing 2 Crescent Moon Juggler. I brought this dude back into the deck simply because it's great offensively and defensively, especially since if you're not doing very well in terms of resources, such as if you're only able to ride the Phantom Harri, which is not horrible, but it doesn't necessarily help you as much if you can't have a good strong setup in the early game. So, like the first 4 or 5 turns, Crescent Moon Juggler is definitely there to help get some stuff up. Plus, he gives himself and the called unit to the 2k, so he is able to give some sort of power to the board, therefore not making everything so futile. That, and if you combo him with Maja, I mean, it's just more interceptors, which always helps. But then again, that's Periton's job too. It's just a bit of a cost more, which is why he works so well offensively. Then I play 2 Jacqueline. We'll always keep 2 Jacqueline in here, just a special place in my heart for this card as well, simply because it just allows you to open up an entire new wave of attacks, like maybe 1-2 more attacks depending on how you plan this thing out. What I would do for her if I have plenty of counterblasts to open up and I'm on a Lunatic or a Mephisto turn, I would use her skill to, after a whole column swings, let's say with Darkside Princess, I'd swing with her, activate her skill, call it a Periton. Periton will call Soul Charge, call out a Betty, I believe her name is. Yeah. Go Betty, swing with this column. It gains power depending on what stride you're going into. Betty's skill, move Periton to the soul, call Periton to a different column. Skill, get out a Paratrooper if you have an extra one, which you more than likely will. It's a great setup card for a combo such as this. Then use Paratrooper skill to call the Darkside Princess from your very first swing. It's very, very nutty, and it works wonders. Going on to the grade ones now, I am playing 4 Stride Enabler. It's very, very important to stride in this deck, so no questions asked. Next up, I'm only playing 3 Cutie Paratrooper. I would play it at 4, but then I think I'd be seeing it way too much. Playing it at 3 seems to be just the right amount, simply because once you see 1, just like a good majority of the cards up here, you'll pretty much be set. If you have 2, you have chances for great columns on each side. And if you happen to get the 3rd one, then you're awesome. You're set for your amazing combo plays. For the PGs, I am playing 4 Unflip PG. I'm not doing what some people do, and I am playing the G-Guard, but it is only in here temporarily. It's still under a lot of testing. And the reason why I'm playing this, trying to go full circle, is from my testing. The whole thing about playing 3 PGs, like 3 Hoop Masters or 3 of this, and only 1 regular, like literal, like plain PG. You discard from the hand, discard card from the hand, you can guard anything, that type of thing. Because you can combo it with the G-Guardian, because it doesn't state that it has to be called from the hand. But I don't do that because it doesn't really help me all that often, and sometimes I just won't see it. It will get damage checked. It'll get soul charged, but when it comes down to having to pay a cost, there are certain combo cards I wouldn't want to lose, so I'd rather just ditch the PG, thus wasting my chance of using that G-Guardian, and having that G-Guardian slot just being abused by the G-Flipping G-Guard. So, yeah, I just put it to 4 of these again, so I can have all the counter charge I need. And finally, 2 Betty. I already explained the combo just maybe about a minute or so ago. Betty is just an absolute amazing card. Going on to the triggers, I play 4 Darkside Mirror Master because you need to crit down your opponent. Draws never hurt, and giving power to your Vanguard is alright, I guess. Speaking of draws, I do play 2. 2 always seems to come in clutch for me. It is a 5k body, the only trigger in this trigger zone to be. It helps to make some decent sized columns if you happen to call it. Plus, it comes in clutch when you have to drive check it or damage check it, and it just comes unexpectedly. You're like, oh, another card for me. Plus, because of all the selective soul charges in here, it gives you better chances to either draw all the extra pieces to thin out your deck, or, I mean, because your opponent won't know if you happen to draw a trigger, oh well, it's more shield for you. Plus, there are ways of utilizing these triggers and putting them back to the deck anyway, so if you happen to draw them and you don't use them for shields that protect you, slap them right back in. Then we're moving on to Prankster Girl of Mirrorland, MVP for the Trigger Zone. Absolutely fantastic. Use this thing in a million ways just to slap it back into the soul and get any card you want from the deck into your soul. Then, because we're still quite countercharge heavy, and this can be utilized just about any time you really need, as long as it's in the soul, Sky High Walker, absolutely essential. Plus, since you are playing a deck that makes ginormous columns, stand triggers are never all that bad. Whoops, dropped the card. And finally, of course, we're playing the 4 heal. I'm playing the one from the Fighters Collection because I like its art, and it's shiny, I guess, just to haul out everything. And for the starter, we're playing the Puss in Boots, Cat in High Boots. The more preferable starter, in my humble opinion. You could play the other one, I forgot her name. She's the one from the very first trial deck. Well, Pillman only have this one trial deck, but I like Cat in High Boots simply because I like the Gorilla tactic, and I like the fact that I won't have to live in fear of it getting Gatling clawed, since Codgirl will be coming back with a vengeance. I know Blade Master is already a thing, but Blade Master isn't necessarily a threat as much as Overlords, because, well, Blade Master can tank out some really good rearguard swings, but that's not much of an issue for me on my side, despite the fact that I'm always giving him the Blaze skills. But Overlord, you can't protect yourself against such a disgustingly powerful Vanguard forever, and the more that the game progresses, the less are the chances of you are surviving. So I'm just having Cat in High Boots there just for a recurring resource that has little chance of dying aside from getting defeat flared, which doesn't happen all that often at all. Is just completely fine with me. Plus, the fact that it is a free call every single time you have a card placed on your Vanguard circle is just fine. So use its skill to call out the Sky High Walker, get another soul charge off, use its skill to get the critical trigger. If you can't commit to a full board, at least use it to get some more cards in your hand to give power to your Vanguard to make it a little harder for your opponent to guard. Stuff like that. Alrighty. Moving on to the G Zone. I am playing one Amanda. This is supposed to be a Sea Breeze if you want it to, because the Sea Breeze is outside this G Zone. Sorry about that, just had to guess. So as I was explaining, this could be the Sea Breeze, but because I don't have it, it's in another deck. It's in Bermuda, and I'm too lazy to swap it out. Just know that this will be your Sea Breeze. But if you can't afford one, since it is still relatively pricey, I would recommend just to play the one Amanda. You don't have a lot of great first strides in this deck, so well, that is when it comes down to your choices. So a really good punishing one for your opponent is Amanda, and you could possibly OTK them depending on how well your first stride goes and how your deal setup went. So yeah, one Amanda. I'm just going to get rid of all the 1-ups so far. Just one Harri. We all know how this is going to go. One Fairfield, the Legion Stride, infamous for putting cards, especially triggers, from your soul and the drop zone back to your deck, calling out an impossibly hard against guard against Beatstick to your field, and just pump it up for a shit ton of power. However, it cannot be targeted by your card effects, so just keep that in mind. And then the one GB8, because it's the GB8 and we have all this free space. Going on to the cards that we do play multiples of, though. I am playing 3 Curtain Call Announcer Mephisto. MVP Stride. Makes your entire board freaking enormous. Playing 2 Millward because on-hit skills and pressure are fantastic, especially when your opponent had to brick from their previous drive or triple drive, and you just want to beat them up. They have that extra damage that you know that they're probably going to take, but if they take it, you just get the plus and try to kill them even more. 2 Prana, because it also helps to set up. This would also be your decent first stride if you happen to draw into your Prankster Girl, which I routinely do, and I would go into her if I have spare counterblast, move her into the soul, grab out the Paratrooper I need, Jacqueline, dark side, whatever you can imagine, put it into your soul. That, and it also helps with Ogma or Drag Strider turns if you need interceptors or cards to bomb. Put out all the excess you do not need. Set up for fair field by calling out the trigger or keeping one or so in the soul. You know what to do. Moving on to the G Guardians, I do play 4 of this dude, Furnival. From the first Fighters Collection, I introduced G Guardians. This could be another Maja, but I like this a little bit more just so I can dish out Mirror Master and all my essential combo pieces very quickly, because you want to be able to kill your opponent off very, very fast. As great as Maja is defensively, that is only for you to survive very crucial turns, but then every single turn is so precious to you in this deck for this game in the current meta, so you want to be able to get your pieces out as fast as you can. Speaking of Maja, we do have her right here. We are playing her as a 1-of, but if you want to bump her up to 2, I would recommend taking out this dude. He's still in here, despite the fact that I did take out the other just plain PG, but he's still in here just for testing in case I have triggers. I just want to see how he works out. The extra soul charge is a little bit of a hit or miss, especially when you soul charge the trigger you're going to use to call anyway, but I don't know. And then finally, we are playing the one G-Flipping G-Guard from the newer Fighters Collection. It's very, very easy to pull off if you have one of every grade from 0 to 3 in your soul, not counting your Vanguard, so it is in the soul. He gains 15,000 shield, so that's pretty fair. You could take this out for another Maja, take this out for another one of him. It's all players' preference. But either way, yes, this deck is just a crap ton of fun. Let me know what you guys think, and let me know what you guys think of this deck and what you guys would prefer me to take out or add in. I'm always up and open for not challenges, but new ideas for this deck, because this one's always been with me for quite some time, and it has its hit or misses with a lot of the meta decks out there, because this deck can perform very well. It just has to go in its own way. I mean, you can't command this deck what to do. When it knows what it can, then that's what you work around. But that pretty much goes to just about every deck out there, so what am I saying? So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to subscribe. If my voice sounds so familiar, that's because I have a channel out there already called Excoziev on Vanguard. That was my main channel. However, I've been unfortunately hit by copyright strikes due to the music in the background of several card shops I've been visiting. Some of the music is fairly faint, if not heard at all. I don't know how these machines that run Google and YouTube seem to pick it up, but I got slapped in the face with copyright infringement, and I am not able to use that account at the moment, so I thought of making up a new channel, and this channel name actually correlates from the very first team I ever made years ago when I first started this card game, when it first came out, with a lot of my closest friends, who I'm still very close with and live amongst right now, called Team Asian. But the funny thing is that I was the only Asian in it, and everyone else was white, black, you name it, but it's just the fact because I thought of making up the team that we just went with that, so I don't know. But yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys next time.